Welcome to a new Neon Jazz interview with a great Kansas City trumpeter, Clint Ashlock. During the course of this interview, we talk about his roots, where he's gigging at these days, and how fortunate he is to be a jazz musician, along with many, many more insights. Dig it.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, Clint. How you doing?
Oh, pretty good, man. Hopefully better now.
Right on, man. You ready to go?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, cool. I got to tell you, when I was doing research on the web, you have to be one of the very few people and musicians out there that I just don't have any real backdrop, so this is going to be interesting to find out who you are and kind of dig into things.
Sure.
First of all, where were you born and raised?
Right here in Overland Park.
Okay.
Park, Kansas.
So when did you first start playing an instrument?
Well, I mean, I did the school band thing, you know, from fifth grade to high school and all that stuff, and didn't really. I mean, I was okay at it, you know. Naturally, I didn't really put in a lot of work, but really got serious about it when I went to college.
Gotcha. So talk to me about your family and how they infused you with the desire to play music.
Well, my parents both played the radio, you know, I mean, more than anything. And, but listened to a lot of music when I was a kid. I mean, my dad had a lot of great records, Stevie Wonder and some of the CTI jazz stuff. So I kind of got into the music through blues and through soul music and kind of, you know, found out jazz on my own. But, you know, I mean, we definitely didn't listen to terrible music at our house, which was a good thing.
Cool. So talk to me about the bands and projects you've been involved with over the years.
Over the years?
Yes.
Well, I mean, when I first came back to Kansas City, I was the jazz grad assistant to Bobby for 2.5 years or so. And did that deal, and then, you know, just had my own groups and played in other people's groups. And Jerry Stayer kind of got me, you know, my first, I don't know if you call it steady work, playing in big bands and different things. And then just kind of communing with the UMKC guys that we all went to school together. And, I mean, you know how big that's played into the scene here in Kansas City with the younger musicians. And, you know, just kind of communed and worked on stuff and put together groups and in that business. And then so recently, I mean, I guess not so recently, about, you know, whatever, it's been 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I started my own big band, New Jazz Order, and, you know, been playing up at Harling's every Tuesday night, pretty much every week for the last, gosh, I can't think of it off the top of my head. It's been 5 or 6 years now. So there's been that, the new record, and then recently playing with the Lifer Brothers, with that group, doing a lot of playing with Gerald Dunn and the Jazz Disciples. I play in Bobby's 18th and Vine, the City All-Star. I don't know what the hell the name of that thing is, but the 18th and Vine big band. And really, man, just anything that I can get involved in. I mean, I'll play with acts that come through. I play with the OJs and Aretha Franklin and Temptations and stuff like that.
Very cool. You're a busy guy. Try
to be, yeah.
So, what was it like to make your latest CD with Bobby Watson?
The big band CD with him?
Yes.
Oh man, I mean it was great. You know, I did all the arrangements and everything, so I rehearsed the band, and obviously we played all that stuff up at Harling's every week and whatever. Went in the studio and laid it down, and really. Bobby's deal, he just came in and laid down a couple solos. But, I mean, his mentorship and his friendship and you know, his teaching was definitely with me the whole way. I mean, the guy's amazing. You know, he's a mentor to all of us here. Has hung out with him and been fortunate enough to learn from him.
Absolutely. So what other albums have you been a part of?
I mean, some stuff off and on. There's this percussionist and singer named Jerry Cardilli that had a band of New Mexico musicians and then some guys in Kansas City, Jack Lightfoot. So I wrote some arrangements for Gary. That was my first thing. Wrote a couple big band arrangements for him to sing on for a record, and then recorded with just some different guys, Gary Dimbo and I mean, most recently, I guess, besides my name, I recorded a couple tracks with Megan Birdsall on one of her self-released things. And then Ryan Heinlein, who has the group, the Project H, I've been playing with that group for quite a while, and we just released a record last year.
Very cool. So you were talking about all the venues you perform in, and you said specifically Harlings. What's your favorite place to play in?
Whatever will have me, I think. I mean, really, it's kind of like, what's your favorite restaurant? You know, there's so many different places in town, and they all have their really neat aspects. I mean, there's Take 5 out in Leawood, and the owners are just so awesome out there, Lori and Doug, that you can't help but just have like the best time possible when you play out there. Go listen. I mean, there's the Blue Room, which is great because it's such a, it's a great stage, and there's a sound system that, I mean, people go there specifically to see jazz, but I mean, there's a Foundation, which is a totally different thing. And the Harlings, I mean, the Harlings is sort of like, unfortunately, in a lot of ways, it's kind of like a second or third home for me because I'm up there so much, and warts and all. I mean, there's holes in the ceiling, and the back porch is dangerous, and I think it smells, but it has its own Midtown kind of charm to it too. So I can't answer that question, obviously.
I love Harlings. Yeah, it's a great place. Yeah, it's a hard question, but I wanted to put it out there. The Kansas City scene's thriving pretty well these days. You were talking about working with Megan and Ryan, and there's a lot of names out there making great music these days. What's your interpretation of the KC jazz scene?
Man, it is on the uptick for sure. With newer clubs that have been opening up, and especially, I mean, it's a really cool place because it's a small scene. Everybody knows each other. They're established people, Dan Kessler and Bob Bowman, and, these guys that have been doing it for a long time and are still at the very top of their game, and would sound great anywhere, not just in Kansas City. But then there's all these younger guys that are, working together and listening to music together and calling each other and hanging out. And, and then people will move here. There's a great new bass player in town named Carl McComas-Reichel, who's just a monster bass player. Matt Otto, of course, moved here, whatever it was, a couple of years ago. And more people. I've got a gig at Take 5 on the 10th with this girl, Allie Burke, who's going to Berkeley next year. She's 19. She's been playing in my band for about a year, and she's just freaking killing. I mean, she sings and she writes and she plays saxophone like, Kenny Garrett. Matt Chalk was here, he was in high school. There just always seems to be this influx of younger musicians that they're adding to the strength of the scene, that are making the older musicians, stay on top of their business and keep growing. And it's a really amazing communal society of musicians, and everybody that's open to it improves dramatically just by, being around each other. I mean, Herman Mahari is probably one of the best young jazz musicians in the whole country. And, you can catch him at the Majestic every week. I mean, that's pretty awesome,
Sounds like a utopia.
Well, I mean, it's not without its warts, but...
But it sounds good. This is what I hear from a lot of musicians. There's a really good vibe going on, and that's the way it should be.
Yeah, man. I mean, Kansas City is for a city that's always talked about, in jazz circles, and definitely has gotten its due over the years. It's actually probably a little underrated right now as far as, across the nation, at least from people that I've talked to. Like, not a whole lot of people are talking about the young scene in Kansas City, but I mean, besides, New York, I mean, I would put the scene here up against anything, really. And I mean, I've been to different towns and played there and listened there. And, I mean, Steve Lambert and Matt Otto and Herman Mahari and Ben Leifer are going to be top musicians wherever they go.
Yeah, absolutely. So, talking about top shelf musicians, who are some of your jazz heroes?
Oh man, Freddie Hubbard, Woody Shaw, John Coltrane. I mean, I've been listening to a lot of Clark Terry and Chet Baker lately. And then, really, I mean, just in the last couple of years, I've been kind of slow to it, but listening to and just devouring new records. Jaleel Shaw's new record is beautiful. Dave Douglas's, stuff has always been great. Logan Richardson, Ambrose Akinmusire, Walter Smith. I mean, we could sit here all day, man, talk about. I mean, I have, everyone almost is an inspiration to me. And the number one guy, of course, is Bobby Watson. I mean, that's my main guy.
Right on. So, talk to me about your life. What are you the most proud of with your music?
The next thing, I guess, whatever's coming up tomorrow.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, just the fact that it just keeps getting better, and that I'm continually motivated every day to work and get better and learn new things and play with new people and just bring whatever. I mean, it's a blessing to be able to bring whatever you've been blessed with, creatively or personally, to other people through such an expressive music like jazz. I mean, man, there's not many other professions that you can do that. So I think just the fact that this is my career is the greatest accomplishment I could come up with. And the good thing about that is that, that accomplishment won't go away because it's every single day,
Right. Very cool. So
the KCJO thing has been pretty cool. I mean, being able to do that.
Sure.
The artistic director, side of that, I didn't really see that one coming.
Right.
But that's been pretty cool to lead that band of great musicians in front of 1,000 people at Hellsberg Hall. I mean, that's not a bad little deal either.
That's a nice deal. So, speaking of the next thing, what are some of your short and long-term plans?
I've got a group that we haven't even had our first rehearsal yet, but starting with guys that I consider to be the best players in town, at least among them. A group called Forward. It's me and Michael Schultz on alto, Brian Lee on drums, Carl McComas-Reichel on bass, and Andrew Willett on piano. And we're going to, really get after it and write for that. So I'm excited about seeing that thing shape up. On a completely different level of style and everything else, the Kansas City Jazz Orchestra thing is definitely something that takes a lot of my attention. So that's exciting to see what comes of that. And then long term, man, I just want to keep making music that keeps getting better and more clear. I mean, always striving for clarity of ideas and composition and playing. And ultimately, the long-term goal is just to make as many people feel good about themselves as possible, to come out and hear whatever group I'm playing and play. That's the number one goal. If somebody can come out and hear me play and they feel better about themselves because they came out to listen to some music, Like, that's the ultimate goal.
Right on. So if you could hop in a little jazz time machine and go back in time, who would be the one musician you would want to meet from any era, and why?
Well, it wouldn't be Beethoven, because I heard he was a German, and I don't speak German, so I don't know if it'd be him. Nobody's ever asked me that before. I guess, I mean, I'd like to be, I would like to see what was going on in New York in, like, around 1939 or 40 when Bird got there and they were, like, workshopping that music, you know, and creating the new language, you know, the new music that they ended up calling bebop. I mean, I think that would be pretty insane to see, because, you know, there's a recording band, so we don't really have any recordings of those formative years. Mm-hmm. And I mean, to go to those Minden's Playhouse and the different little clubs that they were playing at, I just think would be astonishing just to hear that, you know.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, New York in the early 40s to check out, you know, Dizzy and Bird.
Right on. So, at this point in your life, is there anything that you would have done differently?
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all. I mean, I'm here because of what I've done so far, so.
Cool.
There's really no other option.
Right. So, tell me what it was like to give out your autograph for the first time.
Man, it hasn't happened that often, but every time it's weird. I was in Shanghai. I was lucky enough to be part of the G-Week, and it was at University of Northern Colorado forever. I mean, one of the giants in jazz education. You know, he travels the world, and he put together about 5 of us from around the country to go to Shanghai for their China's first ever jazz education festival this last November. And I mean, I'd never been to China before, so that was amazing. But then, you know, to take part in that first festival, so it was packed with these kids that were just totally into the music. And we sat at this table after the clinicians concert and, like, signed autographs for an hour. And I mean, I was just like, you know, on shirts and on hats and on programs, and I signed the guys like money. You know, I'm nobody, man. What are you doing? So you would think that would have desensitized me to it, but no, it's weird. It's really weird.
So, what was the last album you listened to before we talked today?
Jaleel Shaw. All right. I've been listening to that thing like 3 times a day.
Very cool.
For the last however long it's been. Do you have that one?
I don't, and I've heard you're the second person I've talked to and had an interview with where you've lauded this album is amazing. I need to pick it up. Yeah,
it's called The Soundtrack of Things to Come.
Yeah, that's cool. That's very cool.
And I mean, there's some tunes on that are like, there's this tune on it called Faith. It's just, I mean, I think I've listened to that thing 300 times in the last 2 weeks.
That's awesome. That's a good album. That's the key to it. Tell you what, as we kind of get towards the end of the interview here, I want to know who you are in the length of one tweet. Since we're in the digital age of brevity, tell me who Clint is in one tweet.
Well, I'm an editor, so let me think about it for a second. I overthink these things too much. So I'm a musician that's constantly trying to be better at what I do and constantly trying to bring joy to the people that take part in my music with me. That's an awesome tweet. Totally cool. He had 140 characters, I think. Yeah, I think you did. I think the bells are ringing. Hey, thanks for your time today. All right, man, I appreciate it. Thanks for listening and tuning in to yet another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players doing the jazz these days. And thanks to Clint for his time and insight into his craft. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino on the iTunes Store. And until next time, enjoy the music, my friends.
Neon Jazz.